Well, good morning, everyone, and welcome to Keeping It Real. I'm Reverend Laura Hallett, and it is my pleasure to be with you on this beautiful spring morning here in Las Vegas. Isn't it a glorious day out there? So, today we are looking at some of the practices that will help us experience a greater sense of balance in our life. Balance is our theme for the month, and it's based on the 12 qualities we felt were necessary in building a community, which is our 2023 theme for our center. And so we have been exploring different practices that will help us achieve a greater sense of each one of these qualities in our lives and throughout our time together on Thursday mornings. It's wonderful to understand the principles and the ideas that are back of these lofty spiritual concepts, but if we don't actually apply them in our lives, then they really don't do us a lot of good. All that knowledge is wonderful, but until you put it down and watch the rubber hit the road, do you understand that this is actually how we begin to change our lives and begin to bring about a different experience, not only in our own lives, but in the lives of people around us. In my experience, that's what's happened, is that as I shift, people around me either shift or sometimes they leave, which is also a necessary component for our spiritual growth at times. And so this month, as I said, we're looking at the idea of balance. It's our theme for June. Last week, I talked about how we needed to identify where we were out of balance before we could actually begin to bring any resolution to that, to bring about a greater sense of calmness and peace and equanimity that is necessary for us to feel like we are leading a balanced life. And so for the next 3 weeks, I would like to look at some of the tools that we can use to actually get a greater experience of balance in our lives. And so the first thing that I want to talk about is our need to release the resistance that we have to what is. So sometimes we have things in our life that are really out of whack, and we fight against them, we struggle against them because we don't like that feeling that we're not in control, that things are not flowing smoothly through us or for us. And so we resist them, we fight against them. It's not even the situation that causes as much suffering in our lives as it is our resistance to it. And so if we can begin to move into the flow of those things instead of pushing against them, then we can actually begin to have a better experience of that. And we often find that we release a lot of it. The other stuff kind of dissipates when we no longer fight against it. Situations themselves are inherently neutral. The situations that we feel, we may not like them, but they don't really have a charge unless we put a charge on them. And our charge happens when we oppose them, when we're fighting against something, struggling against the way that life is unfolding. That's what disturbs our peace of mind. That doesn't mean that there isn't work for us to do in these situations, but it's like, okay, what can I do to ease this situation, as opposed, how can I push it out of my life? How can I get rid of it? You feel that whole difference of that energy there. Relaxing into it and allowing it to unfold itself the way it needs to and move from my experience is a heck of a lot different than I got to get rid of this stuff right now. At its core, resistance is nothing more than fighting against what it already is. And when we're engaged in a fight, the part of our brain that is responsible for processing fear, the amygdala, floods our bodies with stress hormones. It shuts down our verbal processing centers. Is anybody else out there like me that when I'm in a stressful situation, I actually can't speak? The words don't come out. It also will increase our heart rate, narrow our focus, do all kinds of physical things in us. Those stress hormones are very seldom good in our bodies. And so not only are we experiencing on an emotional level this resistance, but it's actually showing up on a physical level. And so as we begin to release that by accepting what is exactly as it is right in this moment, it frees us from this amygdala hijacking, which is causing all these stress hormones to flood through our systems. And it enables us to be able to see from a different perspective, see multiple options, and see what is possible here to resolve this by moving into it, by accepting it just as it is, instead of resisting it and pushing it away, we can actually begin to change how our body is responding to it. Certainly change how our brain is responding to it. When we relax into it, we actually allow our brain to access its complex decision-making areas, all of the prefrontal cortex. They actually can get to that because the amygdala isn't out there firing really hot and heavy, trying to get us keep us feeling protected. It actually gives us space for our brain's more advanced systems to take over. And so beginning to learn to release our resistance to things is very critical in having a more balanced life. And then on top of that is recognize what it is you can control and what it is that you really don't have any control over in your life. Every one of us faces that moment when we see there is something here that I can't do anything about. You know, the Holocaust survivor, amazing Viktor Frankl, said everything can be taken from a person except one thing. It's the last of the human freedoms. To choose one's attitude at any given circumstance, to choose one's own way. We can't alter circumstances sometimes, but we can choose how we respond to them. We can choose what it is where I have some degree of control and what it is where I just have to let that go. You are free at every single moment to decide how you will behave in response to every single event that you face. We can begin to look at things in a little different way and find those things that we can control that give us a sense of peace or a sense of authority or a sense of being able to move through something. And we can actually begin to not put our attention on those things that we cannot control and then simply move into the ones that we can. You know, there's a lot that's been going on lately with politics, and I often feel like, you know, my one little vote doesn't make a lot of difference in the grand scheme of things. And so the only thing I can control, though, is that one little vote. I can't control my neighbor's votes. I can't control the votes of the people in another town or another state. But I can control mine, and I can be at peace with my decision. I have done what I could do. I have controlled what I could control, and I have to allow the rest of it to unfold in its own course. You know, take responsibility where we are for what we can do. Take control of the things that we can control, and let those things that we can't control move on out. Let them go. You know, there's nothing else we can do there, so let's just let that go and not allow it to attach itself to us in any kind of way that's going to increase our sense of out of balance, our sense of disturbance, our sense of fear and so forth. Allow those things to leave our life, and we'll have a greater experience of balance in most of the areas of our lives. It may not ever come in that one particular area, but if we can get an overall sense of balance in many of the areas, then I think we're going to be able to experience life in a different way. So these are just a couple of things. Join us next for the next 2 weeks, and I'll bring up some more ideas of things that we can do to begin to experience a greater sense of balance in our life. Check out our YouTube channel for all of the offerings. We are doing spiritual practices around the same topic on Wednesday evenings. We have talks on Sundays that talk a little bit more about the principles and the ideas that are in there. Plus, we often have a spiritual practice to go along with that too. So there are lots of ways for you to practice. We have fabulous meditations from our practitioners on this channel, as well as amazing and uplifting spiritual soundscapes from our musical ministry. So hope you enjoy us, Hope you enjoy watching us on our YouTube channel. If you'd like to come and see us live in person, we meet on Sunday mornings. All the information is on our website, cslglv.org. We are in the process of waiting for our new building to be completed. The construction just started last week, and we're very excited about that. So soon we will have our own building to meet in once again. Have a great week, everyone, and we will see you again next week on Keeping It Real. Bye-bye.